Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you've been scrolling online lately, you've probably seen an absolute whirlwind of rumors, partial stories, and, well, pretty heated debates about the 69th regular convention of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod out in Phoenix. Honestly, it can be a lot to sort through. So today, we're doing something different. We are setting aside all the speculation and looking strictly at the verified facts. We're going to walk through exactly what happened from Sunday, July 19th through Thursday, July 23rd. I'm so thrilled you're here, because understanding these decisions helps us all see how they actually impact local congregations, schools, and, most importantly, the real mission of the church. All right, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We're covering Sunday's elections and mission, Monday's pastoral formation, Tuesday's ethics and supervision, Wednesday's reconciliation, Thursday's witness, and finally, how Christ preserves his church. Before we get into the heavy parliamentary weeds, we really need to anchor ourselves right where the delegates did. The whole theme of the 2026 convention was Christ is risen indeed, drawn straight from 1 Corinthians 15. This is our foundation. You see, mission-minded Lutherans at this convention weren't trying to gain political control of some synodical machine. They were actively seeking to remove unnecessary barriers so that congregations can just follow Jesus and participate in his mission to seek and save the lost. Keep that front and center as we unpack these votes. Now, to clear up some of those fear-based claims circulating out there, we absolutely have to clarify a vital distinction under LCMS Constitution Article 7. You'll hear a lot about resolutions passing, but, and this is absolutely crucial, not all resolutions do the same thing. Some are binding, meaning they literally change the bylaws for how the National Synod or its agencies operate, but many others are simply advisory. This means they offer really strong biblical and theological encouragement, but they do not and legally cannot dictate the day-to-day autonomy of your local congregation. Simply put, the Synod advises. It doesn't micromanage your local ministry. Section 1. Sunday, Elections and Mission. Sunday immediately set a tone of outward-facing gospel witness. First up, the convention formally received the election results, returning President Matthew C. Harrison to a sixth term, alongside the vice presidential leadership. But the real structural work? That kicked off with Resolution 101, celebrating the multilingual all-nations ministry. It was a beautiful reminder that the gospel isn't tribal property. They also approved an expanded missionary chaplaincy to care for our international workers. And in a really significant move, the Commission on Worship was reinstated with a permanent bylaw structure, which guarantees the Synod has stabilized worship resources moving forward. Section 2. Monday. Pastoral formation clarified. So, moving into Monday, Resolution 604A revealed a very genuine tension among the delegates. On one hand, there was a completely fair argument for clarifying and affirming the official, recognized routes for calling pastors. We all want unity, right? But on the other hand, delegates raised a very legitimate, heartfelt concern. There was this underlying fear that relying too heavily on digital, distance education might dilute the rigorous, hands-on quality of traditional residential pastoral formation. Both sides deeply wanted faithful, well-trained pastors. They were just wrestling with the best way to form them in a modern world. Now, if you listen to the online rumor mill, you might think the convention completely shut down modern education, or conversely, created brand new Wild West routes to ordination. Well, the facts say otherwise. An amendment that would have strictly limited certain pastoral education to be exclusively online, basically forbidding in-person intensive components, failed massively. 70% voted against it. The convention absolutely did not create a new outside route to ordination, and it didn't loosen witness service RSO board memberships either. Instead of extremes, they found a really practical compromise for modern education. The delegates voted nearly 63 to 37% to include an interpretive safeguard right in the official minutes. This essentially clarified that using ordinary online tools, digital materials, or, emergency remote instruction doesn't magically violate the rules of residential formation. It was basically a common-sense acknowledgement that, yes, seminaries can use Zoom and digital libraries without abandoning the core in-person residential model. Section 3. Tuesday. Ethics and Ecclesiastical Supervision. Before we get into Tuesday's heavier debates, let's look at the definitive election results that are going to shape key Synod entities for years to come. John W. Cius was re-elected as LCMS Secretary. John Edson secured the Board of Directors at-large lay seat with nearly 64% of the vote. Michael L. Cum was elected to the LCEF, and Heidi K. Abeg to Concordia Publishing House. It's great to have these verified, factual results because these are the folks who will be guiding the administration and resources of the church over this next triennium. Then came the big one, Resolution 1004A on ecclesiastical supervision. Speaking the truth in love requires us to really understand both perspectives here. The argument for these changes was driven by a desire for greater top-down accountability, essentially wanting a way to handle doctrinal and practical disputes decisively. But the legitimate, widespread pushback from the floor was that the proposed language was just far too vague. Delegates were seriously worried it could weaponize simple, everyday disagreements between a pastor and a congregation into formal administrative conflicts, leading to severe top-down overreach into local day-to-day ministries. So how did the convention respond to that concern? Both resolutions 10-04A and 10-05A fail care. Section 4. Wednesday, Reconciliation and Unfinished Business. First things first, we have to demystify a moment of parliamentary chaos that definitely sparked a ton of online chatter. Late Tuesday, there was this confusing attempt to reopen and reconsider the failed ecclesiastical supervision vote, Res 1005A. But on Wednesday morning, the chair stepped in and officially ruled that Tuesday's reconsideration was completely null and void. So, just to be absolutely clear on this, the failure of those top-down supervision changes remained final. End of story. The matter was closed. With that drama settled, Wednesday really shifted into bridge-building mode. The convention debated and ultimately celebrated reconciliation and fellowship with the AALC, that's the American Association of Lutheran Churches. There were incredibly healthy, robust discussions on mutual accountability across the synod. They also paused business entirely to hear a profound theological essay by Rev. Kirk M. Clayton, which gracefully grounded their work right back in the Word of God. The rest of the day was just spent reviewing pending good faith amendments and tying up the remaining loose ends. Section 5. Thursday. Witness and Next Steps. Heading into the final day, the delegates adopted several key resolutions, including 110 on apologetics and cultural idolatry, and 111A, which affirms God's design for the family. They also tackled funding and strategy for campus ministry and digital witness. Now, remember what we talked about earlier? It is so vital to remember that these adoptions are largely advisory. They are designed to equip pastors and console troubled consciences facing immense cultural pressures out in their communities. They are pastoral tools for witness, not binding mandates forced upon your local church board. All of this builds a very clear timeline for the next 3 years. In September 2026, the newly elected officers will be officially installed in St. Louis. Between now and the next convention, the Commission on Theology and Church Relations, the CTCR, along with various task forces, will be hard at work conducting the studies requested by these very resolutions. And looking ahead, the convention officially proclaimed that 2029 will be a massive, synod-wide celebration of the 500th anniversary of Luther's catechisms. It sets a really beautiful, deeply catechetical goal for the next time everyone gathers. Section 6. Christ preserves his church. You know, there's a saying, leadership is about disappointing people at the rate they can absorb. If we're being completely honest, neither side of any major debate in Phoenix got exactly 100% of what they wanted. But actually, scratch the cynicism. That is a sign of a healthy, functioning church body. The historic purpose of the Book of Concord, which is to advance God's glory, spread his word, preserve peace in our churches and schools, and console troubled consciences, that purpose prevailed over any desire for total political victory. I want to leave you with this final, absolutely vital thought. No convention vote, no bylaw amendment, and no elected officer preserves or saves Christ's church. None of it. Christ crucified and risen preserves his church through his word and his sacraments. The decisions made in Phoenix simply exist to serve that gospel. They organize us so that we can better send Christ's people out into the harvest. I hope this explainer has equipped you with a clear, factual understanding of the convention. But more than that, I hope it encourages you. So the question is, how will you use this clarity to step confidently into the mission field right outside your congregation's doors today? Thanks so much for learning with me.